Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bit Tactical, where today I'm going to be doing an overview of the Ravener kill team, whose rules are kind of leaked, but also Typhon is coming out in like 2 weeks or whatever, so it's fine. Now, this isn't going to be a rules read or a guide, because I haven't played with the team itself, so I don't really know any of the intricacies of the team, because I didn't get a box because I'm just not that big of a YouTuber. But there are some interesting things in this team that I do want to talk about, and just the team overall. So let's just start going through it because there's quite a few things to go through. And let's just go ahead and do with the faction rule. All right, so again, it's not a rules read, but the ability that they have is the tunnels, where they place a marker starting at the edge of their kill zone, and then they push it 5 inches forward every single turning point, and they can do this up to 5 times, because sometimes games go past turning point 4, especially if it's not like an official tournament game, right? And there's a second part to it, but I don't have it. It's part of the leaked pictures. The second part is basically just saying that you draw a line from one marker to the other, and then that line is your tunnel, and that's where you can use the burrow action on it, right? Now, the burrow action is that if you're on the tunnel, you can do for 1 AP, you can go underground, or if you're underground, you can get up on top on the tunnel. However, you do have to subtract 2 from your move stat if you do that. And you can't do this action if you're carrying a marker, so you can't pick up a marker and put yourself underground and just keep yourself there for the rest of the game, which, I'm sure would have been really nice for them, I guess. And then it's got Predatory Instincts, which is another faction ability. It can fight twice. It also can change its order, or it can change its order in order to counteract, or it can just change its order, which is basically saying that if you're engaged and you don't want to be engaged, you can just change your order, or if you're concealed, you can change your order to do something cool, I guess. And then during its counteraction, if it doesn't perform a mission action, it can perform a free burrow action. So these guys can counteract. Let's say you fire again, right? You've already fired once, or you've already fought twice, or whatever the case may be. You can do an action that's not a mission action, and then you can burrow for free. So you could technically charge somebody, fight them, shoot, and so long as you're on your tunnel, you can then tunnel underneath, or you can counteract, shoot again, and then tunnel underneath, right? Oh, and then also there's a firefight ploy where you can use it, and it allows you to immediately, or not a firefight ploy, a strategy ploy, that immediately allows you to perform a free reposition action to your tunnel. So just, I don't know. There's some things that, they're definitely mixing here. And a lot of it is focused around the tunnel mechanic, right? A lot of their ploys are focused around it. And I don't know. It's like this team, depending on the map, and maybe even the objective, it's like either this team is going to railroad, or you can just work around them very easily, I feel. Well, I say that, but then also, it seems like they're just so baseline good, like a 7-inch move, 3 APL, 20 wounds. Yes, they have that 5-up save, but it's not like they can. It's not. I don't know. I feel like they're pretty good. They're pretty solid. Like, you can absolutely charge this guy in, get a double kill easily, right? Especially against a horde team. Even if it's from charging and fighting someone and then shooting somebody, because a lot of their range does a pretty good amount of damage. And then tank a shot, maybe even 2, and you're fine. And if you have somebody on tunnel, again, you can auto retain 2 saves. You're fine. Like, it's really good. Like, they're just really good. Like, let's go over some of the plays. Now look at this Firefly ploy. This Firefly ploy is really good. Performing the fallback action for 1 less AP, and they have 3 APL, means that they still have a lot to do, right? It doesn't stop you from shooting or doing mission actions if you do a fallback action. So this can be a really good way of pushing up, getting into the safety of a charge, especially against a model that's not very good, like in melee at all, right? Like a 2-3 damage model, even a 3-4, 3 attack model. And then either moving up into a better position or getting into mission objective, right? Or charging into a different model. Then to get into even more safety, right? Like, it's actually such a good ploy. There's so many things that you could do, so many situations that I see. Even against like Nemesis Claw, right? Let's say if you... Because I think Nemesis Claw's gunners, I'm going to say hesitantly, have like a normal damage attack ratio. Like I think it's 4 attacks, 3 hitting on 3s, 3-4, which isn't that crazy, right? Let's say you get into a situation where you were charged by their skin flare or skin thief, and you don't want to be in that matchup. You now, when on your activation, let's say if you survive the initial attack, or if they just charge blocked you, because Nemesis Call love to charge block, especially using their ploy, you then just activate your model, charge into a much safer model, because it charges a long-ass movement, and their charge is actually 9 inches, right? So now you've got a 9-inch charge into wherever, into a much safer opponent, and you're good. So this is a really good ploy. This is one of the ploys that doesn't rely on your tunnels, which is good because a lot of their stuff relies on the tunnel. Now the tunnel, its big drawback is the fact that you have, in order to reach like mid-board or a little bit past mid-board, it's like you're in the third turning point. And by then a lot of the match is already done. However, this team, especially with its models and its wounds, I think does have a good opportunity to create that third turning point, rush where they're starting to get their tack ups and they're starting to get the crit up and they're starting to get the kill ups in order because the tunnel is so good. Right, hopefully that's how it works. For both of these, you have to perform the burrow action or be on the tunnel. On one of them, you get a reroll of your defense die. If you perform the burrow action, if you're on the tunnel, you can reroll any of your defense die, which is really good. If it's on your tunnel for the other one, you can get ceaseless. If you perform the burrow action, you get balanced. So this is what I mean when I said that the tunnel really is the main part of this team, and a lot of their ploys are around that. These two are actually really good ploys. Again, they are situated around either doing burrow or being on your tunnel. Now, so the first one is kind of useless. In my opinion, you save on 5s, and you have another strategy ploy that kind of makes it even better if you're already burrowing or being on your tunnel. And that strategy ploy actually just allows you to retain a save if you're on cover. We're going to cover that in a second. So that's why I think the Whip Curd Emergence, I think it's a little useless, especially since you're saving on 5s, right? You're fishing for 5s. Okay. But the second one, Balance and then Ceaseless. I've been playing a little bit of Scouts recently, and let me tell you, having Balanced and then Ceaseless, depending on what is going on, is really powerful and really good. So Death from Below is probably going to be an auto take every single turning point 2 onwards, or you could probably push it back to turning point 3 with this team onwards, just so that you can get the full benefit from all of your operatives that are on your tunnel. That is the problem. It's on your tunnel. Very dependent on that, which means I think that a good player could probably play around that, right? Something like the Phobos could probably just walk around your tunnel all day and not have a problem. Now look at these ploys, okay? Ride out of sight is a little crazy. You can do the fallback action or reposition action during the strategy phase for free and then do burrow. This one's a little crazy, right? Because what you could do is like turning point 2, you could come out of your stuff. You could charge someone, I guess. Or maybe you're charging somebody at the beginning anyway. And turning point 2, you're still within 6 inches, and then you could just retreat during the strategy phase. So your opponent might think you're out and about and ready to get taken down next turning point, But in reality, you're just, in the next strategy phase, you're just going to retreat back to the tunnel and into complete safety, by the way. I mean, again, that heavy reliance on the tunnel is probably going to be the big weakness of this team, but it's also going to be probably the main strength of this team, right? Somebody that's really good, I think, could actually make full use of this, where they're going up the board in one continuous line, keeping the first objective secured, their home objective, and then going straight to the objective of the enemy or even the center objective, and then just playing on the crit op, and then playing on, especially on the crit op that you could get, right? If you get secure, I think this team would actually be really good with it. And then going in with attack op, and then you having to try to fight them on that will probably bring up their kill op as well. I think a really good player could take advantage of the tunnel to its full extent. But a really good player could also counter somebody who maybe isn't as good with the Raveners. Let's start looking at some of these stat lines. So you have the Ravener Thermosky, 20 wounds, which is everybody, 3 APL, 7-inch move, 5 up save, right? He's got the Pincer's Tail, which is 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 3-4, range 3, which is interesting, but silent. So you can just fire away with this. The Scything Talons have 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4-5, so Phobo, Strike, Team Reaver. But his main thing is Subterranean Ambush. Now, his ability is pretty crazy. It allows you to have a full activation or counteract, if that's the only thing you have, in response of somebody coming within 2 inches of your tunnel. Again, the tunnel is really powerful. So you keep this guy in there, somebody comes within 2 inches of your tunnel, maybe to take away your objective, and then he just pops out. Probably he's going to kill him, and then could do 2 more actions, which again is pretty crazy. Not only that, but he can perform the charge action in conceal, which means basically he fights in conceal. Because fighting doesn't actually take you out of conceal, which is why somebody can charge you and then you fight back against them, right? Not retaliate, fight back against them during your activation, right? And your operative stays in conceal. It's the same thing here, but it's charge that changes you into engage. But now they can commit that action completely silent. So both their weapons have silent on them, technically. Again, really good operative. Probably an operative that really makes sense with the team. And I actually don't mind this guy as much as some of the others. Now we have the Venom Spitter, same stat line. He also has the Pincer Tail and the Scything Talons, but he's also got the Venom Bolt, the Blast version, which is 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 3-5, range 8, Blast 2, and then Poison. And then Venom Bolt, which is focused, 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 4-5 damage, range 8, piercing 1, and then Poison. Poison just means that if any damage is inflicted from this weapon against an enemy operative, that operative is now poisoned for the rest of the game. You will then inflict D3 damage on them when they activate. So it's a kind of a nice way that if somebody's at 1 HP or even 2 HP or 3, they could activate and potentially just die. He also has a Distend dorsal sac. So if it hasn't committed the burrow action or has shot, all profiles of its bolt weapon have the lethal 5 rule, have 1 added to their attack, and the range 8 rule is removed. So unlimited range, 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4-5 damage, piercing 1, lethal 5, and poison, which is obviously really good. This is the stuff that I like when it comes with the operatives. I've mentioned it before, but when they kind of act a little bit as opposed to their team, but the risk of not going with the faction rule for the team actually does have a benefit for this particular operative. It's not for everyone on the team. It's not a ploy that goes against the faction rule. It's just that this operative has a benefit, and you have that risk reward of either using the faction ability or keeping this operative away from the faction ability. That's the kind of stuff that I like. So this guy also really cool. Then we have the Ravener Wrecker. He's got a Bone Mace, which is 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 3-4, range 3, piercing 1, and silent. And Scything Talons and Crushing Claws, 5 attacks hitting on 3s, 4-5, crush. Which crush is you roll off against your opponent. Let's say you roll a 6, they roll a 3. You're going to do the damage difference between those 2 dice rolls. So With that, it would be 3 damage, which is the maximum damage you can do with this guy. However, if you are doing this against somebody who has a wound stats of 9 or lower, you add 1 to your dice roll, so it would be 6. I guess it would be 7, but that'd be up to the maximum. So yeah, this guy, pretty unique in terms of its weapon, but what really kind of like stands out a little bit with him, just a little bit, is the normal and critical damage of 4 or more inflicts when less damage on this operative. So it gives him a little bit of survivability, but in general, I think this guy's like an okay melee operative. The only thing that would make him really good is the fact that he does have 20 wounds. So in a melee, even up against somebody that's really good, he can go back and forth with them, but he's going to survive that fight. He might survive only on 6 wounds, but he will survive it. Then you have the warrior. He's got a normal stat line. He's got the scything talons and pincer tail. Nothing crazy about them. The only thing is that he could add lethal 5 to these things if he's attacking somebody that has performed the fallback action or is wounded. So if they perform fallback or is wounded at all, then he gets lethal 5 on his weapon. Not that great. Nothing interesting going on with this guy. He's kind of a little bit boring. Then, of course, we save the best for last. The Ravener Prime. He does have 21 wounds as opposed to 20. He has the Tail Blade, which is 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 3, 4. Rending and Silent, which is interesting. And then the Scything Talons and Rending Claws, 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4, 5, Rending, which is nice, but that's not really why we bring him. Then you've got Neuropredator Crest. Essentially, if your opponent is trying to control a marker and they're within 3 inches of the prime, their APL counts as 1 less. So against an elite model, right, you now control the marker if you're on it as well, because their APL is only counting for 2 while yours is 3. And they have to spend an additional AP in order to actually secure that marker. So you could be a situation where they do control it, but you're still within 3 inches. So they have to spend an additional APL in order to capture it. And then they cannot re-roll their attack or defense dice. So it's like a little bit of a combination with the Phobos Strike Team's Terror and Vox Breaker's no re-roll aura, except it's just 3 inches. So actually pretty good, especially if you're going to go for the objective. And then his Synaptic Link ability is so interesting. So during the strategic gambit phase, you're going to roll a d6. Now, depending on what turning point you're doing this on, and you're going to be doing it at every turning point, is what dice roll you have to hit. So on turning point 1, it has to be a 1. At turning point 2, 2. Turning point 3, 3. Turning point 4, 4, right? If you roll higher than either of those numbers for that turning point, so for turning point 2, if you roll higher than a 2, you gain 1 CP. If you roll equal to a 2, nothing happens. If you roll less than that, you inflict damage on this operative equal to the result. So by turning point 4, you could be doing like 3 damage to yourself. An interesting ploy, or not an interesting ploy, an interesting ability, kind of funny. I like stuff like this. I like when they do stuff like this. It's like the Ratling's equipment piece, where you can either gain a CP or lose a CP or take a CP from your opponent, which is really funny. Obviously, you're just not going to take your warrior. You're going to take everybody else. The warrior doesn't really do anything. They probably just included him for 40k. So yeah, kind of sucks. I don't like when there's an operative that clearly has no use at all. That they didn't really put much thought into him, right? Especially if there's a choice between him or a really good operative. That means there's no choice at all. I don't personally like when that happens. And with these guys, all their equipment is pretty good, so you're probably going to take all their equipment. All their ploys are decently good, except for the reroll the save dice. If it was another team, that would be nice, but especially on a team that saves on 3s. But if they're not, they save on 5s, so you're probably not going to use that. But it is still a CP hungry team. The ploys that they do have access to, right, are really good, and so you're going to have to want to manage that again between whether you're going to be killing or objective. If you're going to be objective, you don't have to use as much CP. And if you're patient, you could, by turning point 3, have a lot of CP to go really ham and hard and just start using CP left, right, left, right. In fact, if I were a Ravener player, I would suggest trying that. Probably not going to be, just so you know. But I'd try that. Be a little patient. Wait till 20.3. Pop out with 3 or 4 models and just start going ham. Start spending your CP like crazy. Doing everything you basically can to do as much damage to your opponent in that turning point. Get as many points as you can and go from there. But like I said, this is not a rules read. It is not a guide. Just an overview of the team that is coming out in Kill Team and everything around that. However, I do just want to say one thing. The Battle Clade. Listen, I'm going to try to get this. I'm going to try to get this box. I really, really am. I'm going to try to get this box. But I already missed the pre-order by 5 minutes, by the way. But I missed the pre-order. I'm going to go to the actual game store the day it comes out to see if I can snatch one. I hope to God I can. All right, I promise I will try to do that. However, if it doesn't, as a consolation prize, I will get Vocus. Okay, so I'm either getting Vocus or I'm getting this box. And if I get the box, I'm going to probably do a guide with the Battle Clade, but that's not going to happen for a while because I like to get a good amount of games in with them. So, guys, that is the end of this video. The Raveners are looking interesting. I'm excited to see how they actually perform against all the other teams. From the few battle reports that I've seen, it seems like it seems like the Aquilons a little bit, where I think if people get used to them, they're not going to be as effective. However, they still have a very powerful ability. And if you use that to its full advantage, I think you could really come out with some wins. Anyways, that's it for this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. And I'll see you guys next time.